Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 3, which is entitled The Status Quo, Chapter 2. And this morning, we're doing text number 11. So without further ado, we'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Jamunatira Vandachari, Jamunatira Vandachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Jamunatira Vandachari, Jamunatira Vandachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Prevajagacharya. Astottara Satashishi Bhad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityalila Vishnu Vishnupad Paramhansa Prevajagacharya. Astottara Satashishi Bhad, His Divine Grace Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाए। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाए। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद तीर्थ द्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जाए। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जाए। वृंदावन धाम की जाए। मथुरा धाम की जाए। नवद्वीप धाम की जाए। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जाए। जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जाए। गंगा मई की जाए। जमुना मई की जाए। तुलसी देवी की जाए। भक्ति देवी की जाए। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जाए। समवेद भक्त वृंद की जाए। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga God Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namini. Narayana Namaskritya Narunchevam Naruttamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Gutirayat Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 2, Remembrance of Lord Krishna, and Text 11. pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar adhād sva-bimbaṁ loka-locanam pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar adhād sva-bimbaṁ loka-locanam pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar adhād sva-bimbaṁ loka-locanam. Hare Krishna. Please chant.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar adhād sva-bimbaṁ loka-locanam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar adhād sva-bimbaṁ loka-locanam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar adhād sva-bimbaṁ loka-locanam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Pariksit avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ ādāyāntar adhād sva-bimbaṁ loka-locanam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And welcome, Jackie. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, we'll do it. Oh, okay. Hare Krishna. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
pradarśyātapta-tapasām avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ nṛṇām ādāyāntar sva-bimbaṁ loka-locanam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Anyone else? All right, we'll do word for word. Pradarsya, by exhibiting. Atapta, without undergoing. Tapasam, penances. Avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ, without fulfillment of vision. nṛṇām, of persons. Ādāya, taking. Antaha, disappearance, adhād, performed, ya, he who, to, but, sva-bimbaṁ, his own form, loka-locanam, public vision. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrī Prabhupada. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who manifested his eternal form before the vision of all on the earth, performed his disappearance by removing his form from the sight of those who were unable to see him as he is, due to not executing required penance. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the word avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ is most significant. The conditioned souls in the material world are all trying to satisfy the senses in various ways, but they have failed to do so because it is impossible to be satisfied by such efforts. The example of the fish on land is very appropriate. If one takes a fish from the water and puts it on the land, it cannot be made happy by any amount of offered pleasure. The spirit soul can be happy only in the association of the Supreme Living Being, the personality of Godhead, and nowhere else. The Lord, by his unlimited causeless mercy, has innumerable Vaikuntha planets in the Brahmajyoti sphere of the spiritual world. And in that transcendental world, there is an unlimited arrangement for the unlimited pleasure of the living entities. The Lord himself comes to display his transcendental pastimes, typically represented at Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. He appears just to attract the conditioned souls back to Godhead, back home to the eternal world, but for want of sufficient piety, which is the same as for lack of sufficient piety. Want and lack mean the same thing in this case. The onlookers are not attracted by such pastimes of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that only those who have completely surpassed the way of sinful reaction can engage themselves in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The entire Vedic way of ritualistic performances is to put every conditioned soul on the path of piety. By strict adherence to the prescribed principles for all orders of social life, one can attain the qualities of truthfulness, control of the mind, control of the senses, forbearance, etc., and can be elevated to the plane of rendering pure devotional service to the Lord. Only by such a transcendental vision are one's material hankerings fully satisfied. When the Lord was present, persons who were able to satisfy their material hankerings by seeing him in true perspective were thus able to go back with him to his kingdom. But those persons who were unable to see the Lord as he is remained attached to the material hankerings and were not able to go back home, back to Godhead. When the Lord passed beyond the vision of all, he did so in his original eternal form. As stated in this verse, the Lord left in his own body. He did not leave his body as is generally misunderstood by the conditioned souls. This statement defeats the false propaganda of the faithless non-devotees that the Lord passed away like an ordinary conditioned soul. The Lord appeared in order to release the world from the undue burden of the non-believing asuras, and after doing this, he disappeared from the world's eyes. Oma Gyanati Mirandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshu Umbilitam Jena Tashma Shri Guru Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantika Nama Om Vishnu Panaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatyari Satyarini Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Guratiche Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jai. The English translation again. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who manifested his eternal form before the vision of all on the earth, performed his disappearance by removing his form from the sight of those who were unable to see him as he is, due to not executing required penance. Hare Krishna. This text is very direct in the way it's describing how people who believe in God see him, and those who are trying to believe in God or don't believe in God see him. Both are described here. What the Lord came to do and why are also described. So this is quite a full text in itself in terms of what it presents. So we read it again. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who manifested his eternal form before the vision of all on the earth, his original form. He has expansions, Vishnu expansions. There are incarnations, those that come to the material world. This is of him still, all at the highest level. His original form is like us, 2 hands, 2 legs. Very, very beautiful. No one exceeds Krishna in beauty. He came to this earth. So in one sense, the earth is also very fortunate, because in this universe, there are several planetary systems. As is explained, there are 7 planetary systems towards the top of the universe, and then 7 planetary systems to the bottom of the universe. The 7 planetary systems in the top of the universe, or the top half of the universe, includes the universe that we're in. It's a small universe. And this planet, compared to the rest of the planets in this universe, is also small. But this is where the Lord came himself. So people saw him. But how they regarded him had to do with the extent to which people are spiritual or not. That extent determines how people relate to Krishna. And it is true today. Today. It is still true up to today. So, before the vision of all, he was there, but he performed his disappearance by removing his form from the sight of those who were unable to see him as he is. Those who were unable to connect with him, he left in a particular way, and to this day, people are still saying that he left in that way. Those who don't connect with him think that he left in one way, and those who have connected with him in bhakti, in devotional service, they know how he left. So that is the difference. Those who are not connecting with Krishna think that he left in a particular way. But those who connect with Krishna by the mercy of a spiritual master who is teaching us how to connect to Krishna, they know. It's not a matter of thinking. They know how Krishna left. So by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, we'll break this down. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, the word avitṛpta-dṛśāṁ, which means without fulfillment of vision, is most significant. He says the conditioned souls in the material world are all trying to satisfy their senses in various ways. But they fail to do so because it is impossible to be satisfied by such efforts. Trying to satisfy one's senses from the material standpoint is a losing battle. But in many ways, people have come up with even some proverbs and things to try to describe it. Where I was born in West Africa, we have trucks for transportation, and they put all kinds of sayings in the front part of the truck, right above the windshield. They will write something there. Life is a fight. That's one of the things they say. 6 feet is there for everybody. I'm not talking about the grave. Everybody is going to die. They write things like that. But this is all things about life that happens here in the material world. And if you begin to find out what the material world is designed for, you start laughing at yourself. And the biggest thing I hope everybody realizes sooner or later, if not now, is that it's been a very big mistake to come to the material world. Huge mistake. And the sufferings are what slowly begins to make us realize what's going on. Those of us in this part of the United States, we know what we've been through in the last few days. First, the weather went over 100 degrees temperature. And then after that, we were greeted with a storm that to this very minute has knocked out electricity since Saturday. We're on Tuesday now, 4 days. Some people haven't had power. Now imagine not having power and there's 100-degree temperature and the 100 degrees is coming in your house and there's no way you can stop it because you don't have any air conditioning, and air conditioning works on electricity and electricity is cut off. Still, we think we like it in the material world. I don't get it. Anyway, I'm not sitting on my soapbox now. I get off of it and go to the purport. The conditioned souls in the material world are trying to satisfy their senses in various ways, like getting air conditioning. But then something happens and it fails. So we fail to do so because it is impossible to be satisfied by such efforts. The fact of the matter is, material world is designed to not make us totally happy here. It doesn't work like that. We ourselves are examples. Each one of us. What do we want? A nice, long, full life. If we don't get to 80, people are saying, you didn't live a full life. If you're in 70s, well, maybe it was okay, and then you died. But anything below that, especially 30s, 20s, and teens, God forbid, people die at that age, people get very upset. They were young, and then they left. The soul left the body, which is what death is. But think about it again. We want to have a nice, long life. But what happens when you begin to have a long life? The body begins to break down. So the long life that's supposed to be what people want, old age comes and steals away our health and gives us problems. We are having a nice long life. Really? When old age is causing us sickness, it's causing us weakness, it's causing us, and then, of course, the demons that run the earth do have put all kinds of toxins in the atmosphere. That is in the air, in the water, and in our food. Therefore, the body itself is breaking down, and then the chemicals help it to get worse. And this is long life? I don't get it. So, Srila Prabhupada explains, the example of the fish on land is very appropriate. If one takes a fish, which needs to be in the water, it breathes and it lives in the water, you take it out and put it on the land. It cannot be made happy by any amount of offered pleasure. Meaning that we are supposed to be in the spiritual world. That's our natural place. So if we leave the spiritual world and come to a place that's unnatural, like the fish being on land, we're not going to be happy. The fish won't be happy. By any amount of offered pleasure. So that is the reality. The reality is we are in the wrong place. But how did that happen? Well, Krishna is the controller of everything. And in the world of peace and happiness and everything provided, that is the spiritual world, people turn, every living entity turns their attention to Krishna, to satisfy Krishna's senses. And this is how they themselves enjoy. Happiness comes from relating to Krishna. But then there are some of us that saw Krishna is the one in the center of everything, getting all the attention. I wish I was in the center like that. And since we have free will here, and we have free will in the spiritual world also, we decided to get to a place where we want to be the controllers. Srila Prabhupada explained that Krishna tried to convince us not to leave, but we forced Krishna's hand. This is quoting Srila Prabhupada directly. We forced Krishna's hand. That answer came from Srila Prabhupada when he had arrived. He had traveled and arrived at a particular place. The Buddhists have come to meet him. Reporters were also there. And then one reporter asked, so if we're in the material world, in the spiritual world is the place we should be, how come we left the spiritual world and came here? So Srila Prabhupada explained, and then they asked, but if God is so merciful, and he's the strongest, he has all the powers, and he's loving, and he knew we were making a mistake, why didn't he stop us from leaving the spiritual world? Why didn't he stop us? Now that we know that all the happiness can be in the spiritual world and we're suffering here, that is, those whose eyes are open, they realize they're suffering in this place. Why didn't he stop us? Then Srila Prabhupada replied, we forced Krishna's hand. Krishna is not a dictator. Krishna is a loving being. And a loving being tells another adult, this is going to be troublesome for you. And if that person says, I'm going to do it anyway, to this day, this is Krishna's, I mean, even as super soul, same thing. People want to steal, you get warned, you can be caught, you can be jailed. People want to kill, you can be, the nation can give you life in prison without parole, or even take your life. If you want to do something like this, always that hint comes from the super soul. Tells you, tells the mind, it can be like this. There's consequences for doing something bad. And if you overrule it, then because we have our free choice, then we're allowed to do it. And then we face the consequences. So Krishna did not want us to leave. But since we thought we were going to get something better because we'll be in control of our lives, because in Krishna, when you relate to him, you're a servant. But you are a loving servant, and he relates lovingly to you. He is a superior. He owns everything. So he obviously should be the superior. Supreme to everything else. And we said no. So here we are. Krishna tried to get us not to come, but we came. And he said, all right, so you can come. Most of the people that leave the spiritual world, they take a demigod body. So then they have powers in the material world. So, yes. But then in the end, hopefully, we begin to realize this isn't the best place for us. So a fish cannot be made happy if you put him on land, no matter what you offer to the fish if it's on land. The spirit soul can be happy only in the association of the supreme living being and nowhere else. That's why Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a spark compared to the fire. As soon as the spark comes out of fire, the fire itself, the spark looks like the fire. The property is just like a fire. But how long does it last? The fire is still raging. The spark comes out within seconds, or even less than that, less than a second. The power of the spark is gone. They have dissociated themselves. The spark has dissociated themselves from the fire. Therefore, immediately it loses its ability, just like it was when it was in fire. But when it's in the fire, it doesn't even matter that you don't see the spark. If it's in the fire, the spark is fine. So if the fish is in the water, the fish is fine. If the fish comes out of the water, there's no pleasing the fish at that point, no matter what we do. So it's designed that way in the material world. Srila Prabhupada is saying that people have tried to solve different ways. We are living a life right now that we try to solve inconveniences that this earth gives us. That's all we're doing, and we call it enjoyment. Mm? And sometimes life becomes very hard for us, and we try to forget it. So we use drugs, and we use alcohol, we use all kinds of things that try to give us some sort of fake happiness, and that is also temporary. And then after that, we're back to where things are. Mm? Difficult, trying. So the Lord, by his unlimited causeless mercy, has innumerable Vaikuntha planets in the Brahmajyoti sphere of the spiritual world. That is the place where it belongs. And the next sentence, Srila Prabhupada explained, that really is the icing on the cake. I hope everybody understands it. So we're going to read it verbatim. In that transcendental world, there is an unlimited arrangement for the unlimited pleasure of the living entities. So here it is. At home, there is an unlimited arrangement for the unlimited pleasure of the living entities. So who says only Krishna is enjoying everything? No, it's not like that. But it is in one sense like that because the living entities in the spiritual world love Krishna so much that they think of Krishna, they want to relate to Krishna, and they want to serve Krishna in love. It's not a requirement. Srila Prabhupada says service to Krishna in the spiritual world is not a requirement. It's from people's hearts. It's from the living entity's heart. They themselves do it. When there's exchange of love, there is no requirement anywhere. So in the transcendental world, there is an unlimited arrangement. Now everything comes from Krishna. Unlimited arrangement for the unlimited pleasure of living entities. So there's unlimited pleasure waiting for us. We've left it. And now, by the Lord's mercy and our own free will, we've been now, the knowledge is there for everybody in the whole universe. But we have now begun to connect with it. And now we realize whatever our problems are, actually, it's just because we're in the material world. That's the main reason the problems are here. Birth, death, old age, disease. This physical body takes us through that. So, unlimited arrangement is there. Unlimited, which means it goes on and on. And the way it's described in the spiritual world, it's like an eternal party. People love parties. Eternal parties going on in the spiritual world. One after another. It never stops. Unlimited arrangement. In some books outside Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam says some of it, but books like Brihad-bhagavatamita, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, this is Śrī Kṛṣṇa is a book that describes the loving relationship between Krishna and the cowherd boys. It is phenomenal. The things that they do, where they live, the very things that sometimes some people even envy rich people on here on earth. They have this, they have that, they have all of these things. We have it individually in great abundance in the spiritual world. Brihad-bhagavatamita describes the wealth for every single living entity in the spiritual world. The wealth they have access to. It's like the wealth in the universe. Now, people that we know that are rich, they have wealth on the one earth, one small planet in a small universe. But in the spiritual world, one person has access to wealth supplied by a material universe. One person, one living entity is that much available. But also, listen, we didn't say they have it. They just said, when we said they have access to, which is the right way to look at things. They have access to anytime they want. The wealth is there. In other words, they can do whatever they want. There's that much happiness there. And there are no disturbances and there are no anxieties. So that's the situation that we have back home if we go. We made a mistake. We might as well admit it. The Lord is also helping us. He loves us so much that when we leave the spiritual world and come to the material world, He comes with us. Every body that we've taken, every physical body that we've taken in the material world, He's been there as a super soul. He's never left us. He guides. He does not cross one situation, and that situation He doesn't cross is He doesn't dictate to us. He gives us free will, because there's free will in the spiritual world. We misuse our free will, and that's why we wound up in the material world. But even here, we still have our free will. So He doesn't cross it. So everything comes in form of suggestion. If you listen, then life becomes better for you. Protection becomes, even as now, protection comes. And Krishna guides us in so many ways. Inside as a super soul and outside as a spiritual master. And then He Himself comes in original form to display His transcendental pastimes. Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka especially. So the idea is to attract conditioned souls back to Godhead. But people who are not pious cannot go back. Pious people are the people in the mode of goodness. And goodness is described in terms of the properties of goodness in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text 42. You can easily refer to it. The Brahmanas work like that. And there are many parts also, qualities that a person should develop. Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, text 8 through 12. There are 5 texts put together. Chapter 16, text 1, 2, and 3. In other words, there's all of these references that you look, you can see. But 18 and text 42 describes tolerance. Actually, Lord Chaitanya has also talked to us about the way things should be in the Shikshashtaka. So all of those are there for us to look at. So Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 42, you look at it, it will tell you what the situation is that people should live by. And if they live by that, then life is a lot easier for them. And also they have a great chance, we have a great chance to go back to the spiritual world. But at least we should live based on these. Shamo damas tapa chocham, shanti ajavam evacha, jnanam vijnanam astikyam, brahma karma sva-bimbaṁ. That is the text I was talking about, chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, text 42. Translation is peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and being religious. You have to be peaceful. And in chapter 5, the very last text of Bhagavad Gita gives the peace formula. To understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, 1. That everything is under His control, number 2. And number 3, that He is actually the well-wishing friend of every living entity. If you understand these 3, we'll be at peace. Self-control, meaning that we're in the material world, but we don't go after all of these little things like, as we've been told, self-control is kind of wrapped up in the regulative principles. The gambling, which you don't lose your money if you don't gamble, because gamblers lose money. Ultimately, they don't gain. No intoxication, it ruins the body, especially the liver. And if it goes through, the person gets intoxicated, then they become so-called uninhibited. And then the things that the skeletons in the closet that they normally won't talk about, they even start talking about it in that drunken stupor. Illicit sex. And then the body is designed for vegetables and milk. So that's our diet. So that comes from, if we stay with that self-control. And the other thing that comes very much with self-control is not to offend others. We shouldn't offend other devotees. If you offend other devotees, you're not going back to Godhead. If you offend non-devotees, if we offend non-devotees, it also sabotages the society. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is trying to get people to go back home, to understand who God is, and to go back. But if we do something to offend them, then they will say, oh, it's non-devotees, Hare Krishnas, they are this, negative things. They will say that. And because of that, they will not be part of the society. They wouldn't want to be part of the society. And if they don't want to be part of the society, they'll never know about Krishna. So by offending them, we block them from getting a chance to go back to Godhead. So we have to be tolerant. Sometimes some things will happen and we will not like it emotionally. We will not like it, but we have to tolerate for a higher purpose. For a higher purpose. Honesty, very important. We shouldn't be deceiving others. If people find out we're dishonest, we all know in our lives when someone is dishonest, how much would you believe what they say? Even if they tell the truth. A dishonest person doesn't lie all of the time. Even if they tell the truth, a person that knows that this person is dishonest is going to look at it the second time. Well, I'll hear it, but I don't know that I will accept it yet, because this person can tell stuff that's not true. So honesty is important. Knowledge should be knowledge of who Krishna is. And wisdom is the application of that knowledge. Spiritual application, the application of a spiritual knowledge, that's wisdom. That's wisdom. So it's all for us. For us, religiousness is the eternal religion, Sanatana Dharma, which by Lord Chaitanya's mercy is very much run by the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Krishna says he appears to attract the conditioned souls back to Godhead. He comes, he performs his pastime. They're out of this world in terms of the quality of pastime. Nobody can do like he does. So then, the pastime, some of it involves killing demons to tell people that those who are pious will be protected. And then there's the wonderful Krishna by himself. Krishna, at home, when he's himself with the gopis and what he does to gopis, it is so wonderful to tell us. Sri Prabhupada says, Krishna is having such fun with the cowherd boys, and he's beckoning. Come join us. Come join us. Be a devotee and come join us, and you'll be happy just like he and the cowherd boys are acting. So, Srila Prabhupada says, by strict adherence to the prescribed principles for all orders of social life, one can attain the qualities of truthfulness, control of the mind, control of the senses, forbearance, and those, like we talked about, we've already read Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text 42, but 16, 1, 2, and 3 is also there. And then 13, 8 through 12 is also there. So, we can, in fact, from these things, qualities of truthfulness and control of the mind, control of the senses, we can be elevated to the plane of rendering pure devotional service to the Lord. And that is the bottom, that is the basis for attraction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Loving attraction to Him. So remember, there is unlimited arrangement for unlimited pleasure of the living entities. When we go through problems here, remember there is an unlimited arrangement for the unlimited pleasure of the living entities in the spiritual world. So I must go home, back to the spiritual world. That should be what we should aim for. So the final thing Srila Prabhupada talked about was how the Lord left. When he came, he also left. His appearance and his disappearance. So the Lord passed beyond the vision of all. He did so in his original form. The Lord left in his original form. But those who don't really believe in the Lord and they want to make up their own theory about things, they say the Lord died and then he left, just like we all are. The whole story around it. And then Balaram also, the first expansion of the Lord, he also died. And now, if you go to YouTube, listen to some things they're talking about what happened in Mahabharata, this, that, and the other. When things were wrapped up after the war, Krishna died. For those who don't really understand what bhakti is about, they can believe that. But Krishna left in his own body. Srila Prabhupada says the way he came, he left like that. He did not leave his body as is generally misunderstood by the conditioned soul. Only faithless non-devotees say that the Lord passed away like an ordinary conditioned soul. So he disappeared from the world's eyes. First, he came to release the world here from the burden of the asuras, problems, the demons, asuras. Then after doing that, after the Kurukshetra war was over, many demons had been killed. He disappeared from the world's eyes. So why does the Lord behave the way he does? Nṛṇām prakasa sarvasya yogamaya samavita mudoyam nabijananti loko mam ajam avyayam. He says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, that's the title. Text 25, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I'm covered by my internal potency. Therefore, they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. They don't know that. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. We talked about having free choice. So if you have free choice and you decide to define God in your own way, which is not true, then Krishna won't manifest himself to you either. It's like, here's Krishna, but you would never believe that that's God. There was one situation in the Harrisburg temple. There was a couple of Matajis that came to visit. They were non-devotees. They came. We showed the picture of God to them, Krishna. And they immediately began to make all kinds of comments that were negative about the picture of Krishna. And I happened to be standing with both of them. And one of them says, but this is your God. He looks so young. God is the oldest, but he looks so young here. Then by the mercy of my Guru Maharaj, the argument came, the debate came. And I said, so Krishna is too young. So in other words, she's implying that can't be God. Then we said, all right, so if God is old, what happens to old people? What happens to old people? Then she said, they die. Does God die? She said, no. Then I said, why should he be old then? Why should he look old if he's not going to die? So that was the argument. Then she, all right, it makes sense to me. Okay, so she stopped the debate. So Krishna says he's never manifested to the foolish and unintelligent. So he uses his internal potency to cover himself. So people can see and hear about Krishna and still won't connect with him because it's one of two things. Either they are unintelligent, don't see things as they are, or foolish. The intelligent people realize something wrong with this particular planet and the way things are happening. The demons have taken over. But the thing is, they take over for a while, and then in every spiritual book you will see, in the Bible it talks about it. People became very bad in Sodom and Gomorrah. Krishna just took care of the whole city, burned it down. In Noah's time, they used floods to remove everything. So people do bad things, but God will change it. So their time will go. So now the situation is the unintelligent people are putting God aside. They think they can solve everything, but they can't. Because for every situation that happens, at the very least, the demigod, if we don't see it, don't realize that even getting sick tells us that we are in the wrong place. It's unnatural to get sick. But even if we put that aside, the weather alone, many of the days in the year, we don't have good weather. It's either too hot, too cold, too dry, too humid. And in different parts of the world, one part is saying, it's so cold here. Another part is saying, it's so hot here. Same planet. So we're never really at peace. The fact is, we're never really at peace in the spiritual world. I mean, in the material world. In the material world. Even those that want to go to the heavenly planets. There have been so many instances where there's wars that's happened in the heavenly planets. The demons that live in the lower part of the universe, they attack those demigods in the heavenly planets. There have been times Arjuna went to the heavenly planets to acquire weapons for the Kurukshetra war. He had to fight Indra's war. And they said he killed 60,000 soldiers from the demonic side. King Muchukunda, he was a great warrior here on earth. He was asked to go to the heavenly planets. He fought on behalf of the demigods in the heavens against the demons. So there is no real peace anywhere in the material world. Not even in the heavenly planets that has more material arrangements than we have here. In this, we are in the middle part, or the lower part of the the higher planetary systems. We are at the bottom. So upwards from us, it gets better and better and better in terms of material arrangement. But real peace is only in the spiritual world. Unlimited arrangement is made for unlimited pleasure in the spiritual world. That's where we need to go to. And for those who define God in kind of fits and in a funny way, he says that he won't make himself available. You will never know. He's God himself. But don't doubt it, dear devotees. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The God that everybody is talking about. The Supreme Lord is Krishna himself. And below him are demigods who run things in the material world. But in the spiritual world, unlimited arrangement is there for unlimited pleasure. So it makes more sense to prepare to go home by obeying what the spiritual master says, living according to the instructions that we're given, and then through that serving, and from the service, develop the habit of serving, first by instruction. Then you develop the habit and you want to do it on your own. And then from there, because you're serving the devotees, you're serving the spiritual master and serving Krishna, we become loving towards those we're serving. And of course, ultimately, Krishna Prema, the love of Godhead, also happens. Then we get to go home. Hare Krishna. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you for coming on to hear. We all need the advice. I myself, talking about it, we need the advice. I myself need it because it's through the spiritual master that these thoughts and the whole presentation comes out like that. This is the time, devotees, for unmuting yourself if you want to ask a question, if you want to share some takeaways, or just join in and talk about what your realizations are if you want to. Hare Krishna. So we'll start with you, Bhakti Shane. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Please unmute yourself. Hare Krishna.
Please accept mine. All glories to the Prabhupada.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for this wonderful class.
Krishna's mercy. Okay.
Yeah, I was always amazed you brought up people wanting to, live old, even though the body can, go through more pain and more diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it always amazed me. People would be so excited for retirement. It's like first we gotta hope we even make it that long, and that our body is still functionable to enjoy it at all. But yeah, I had
Yeah.
one question. You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
at the end how the demons in the lower planetary systems have war with the higher ones. I was just wondering why that's possible. Like why
Why the
Krishna
demons?
allows their yeah.
Well, you said Krishna allows, if they're allowed to do that, everybody has a free choice. That's the first part of it. And um, if you're not a demon, it's difficult to get to the mindset of demons. Because it's like a person who is pious, why do demons do what they do? I don't know. Why is Ukraine being attacked the way it is? I'm not in Putin's mind. It's the demons are just, I'm not brushing it off. I'm just, they're the way they are. They get their so-called fake happiness from destroying others and from controlling others. That's what demons are like. They like to control. Hmm? They get off. That is their ecstasy, to be able to be in power and to be able to be more powerful than the other person. So demons are in control, and that's why there's so much vying for power. Through what? Developing weapons. Hmm? And this vast amounts of money are being spent for developing weapons more efficient at killing than the weapons that they developed before. It's all demonic mentality. This is the demons. And obviously, those who are not demons, just like the question you asked, they find it hard for people to think that way. Why? But they want power. Because demons want to rule without the influence of Krishna. They want that. They did not develop the universes. Krishna did through his incarnation, Lord Vishnu, but they still want control without God being in it. My spiritual master, Bhakti Maharaj, made a phrase from ego, E-G-O. And the demons have big egos. E-G-O means edging God out. And that is the motto for demons. They don't want God in the picture. They want to be in control. And whatever way that they're going to use to get control, they will. So if they control the finances of the entire planet, so that everything is by them, and they control our minds. They want to hear everything that we say. They control our minds too, how they use the media, and all of that. So it's like this is just control they want. But God is already in control. So to take God's place, they want control. Even though they're not responsible for putting even the material world together, much less the spiritual world. They're not responsible for putting material world together, but still they want control here. Mm-hmm. And so they try to do that, and then the Lord, of course, when it gets too bad, and he comes and puts them in their places. But unfortunately, Sri Radha Swami also explained, they are in the lower planetary systems in the universe, so they'll plan again. They'll plan again. They get the plans after a while, like the Battle of Kurukshetra is arranged, and Krishna took care of so many of the demons. But then they plan again. That's the way it is in the material world. So once you come to the material world, there will be some influence by the demons on whatever planet that we are. There will be some influence by the demons. So the solution is there is unlimited arrangement for the unlimited pleasure of the living entities, but it's in the spiritual world. So you have to go to the spiritual world, then you get away from all of this. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your question. Any other question? I've seen a couple of things in the chat, so I'm going to read it. Hare Krishna, Sepaham Basins is God Śrī Prabhupada. They say we shouldn't seek liberation. What is the difference or next step in going from being fed with material existence and the level of devotion where it's said not to seek liberation? Well, I know you phrased the question in terms of not seeking liberation. We don't have to seek liberation per se. We don't have to seek liberation. We are liberated. It's not a matter of seeking it. There is mental liberation. Then there is a physical, actual occurrence of liberation, going back to Godhead. Mental liberation is to understand. This is what we're talking about now. The whole effort of preaching is to get us to be mentally liberated. That is, mentally disconnected from thinking that the material world would give us the reality of life, the happiness that we want. When a person is disgusted, this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21, Text 21. And it's right at the second paragraph. Srila Prabhupada says one is disgusted. Unless one is disgusted with the material energy, there's no chance for liberation. So which means when one is disgusted, then there's liberation. They may still be in the material world, but they're not thinking in terms of any wonderful expectations here in the material world. They know, as we said today, there is unlimited arrangement for unlimited pleasure. We want unlimited pleasure, but that's in the spiritual world. So when one begins to think, my real happiness will come from going back to Godhead, that person has already gone through mental liberation. Because now they think, I don't expect wonderful things in the material world. I've seen enough examples. People who say they are happy, they get old. As Shane was talking about it. They want to retire. They forget that when they retire, the body is too old. So they've retired now. I don't have to go to my 9-to-5 job or even retire from a business and I don't do the business anymore. But what kind of shape is the body in when the body is old? So how can they really enjoy? They wish they can enjoy, but the body won't let them. So this is the situation we're in. In the spiritual world, there is no old age. There's much availability of things, as I said, unlimited arrangement is there for unlimited pleasure. So that's where we're supposed to go. So as soon as we think that way, we're convinced that our life should be doing things to plan for us to receive the mercy of the Lord. We may not be perfect, but the mercy is there. When you're a devotee, you're going back to Godhead. You are. Either this life or the next life or the life after that, but you're definitely going back to Godhead. Krishna will make sure that we put in situations to hear his holy name until we go back to Godhead. So the arrangement has been made there. So yeah, there is mental liberation. Now, physical liberation, when we leave the material body, those who are impersonalists, they want to merge into the Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence of the Lord, but there is really no happiness there. There is peace, but no activity there. So that doesn't make much sense for us to even try for that. But still, that's leaving the material world, though. To go to the spiritual world, not the effulgent rays of the Lord and be one particle in there, but to go to the spiritual world and to relate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all of the wonderful, happy, living entities in the spiritual world, voluntarily serving the Lord and serving each other. They serve each other to serve the Lord. They serve those. That's why it's a servant of a servant of a servant. Ultimately, they serve the Supreme Personality of God in love. So the unlimited happiness is there. As soon as we think that way and we're convinced that this is the way to head forwards and not bother too much with the things that are supposed to be happiness in the material world, it doesn't really exist because there's always trouble associated with whatever we try to do to make life comfortable for us here in the material world. There's always trouble associated with that. Once you think that way, you're mentally liberated. You're physically still here in the material world, but mentally, you know where you're going and you know where you want to go. Hare Krishna. Thank you again for the question. Any final questions or comments? If not, then we'd like to thank you for coming on today. We're all Getting ready to go. Just please don't forget. There's more actually. But the statement that Srila Prabhupada made, there's unlimited arrangement for unlimited happiness in the spiritual world. So that's where we should head. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Glory Srila Prabhupada.